Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in for our final series of the night between Yangon, Galacticos and Army Geniuses, and it is MLP johnxfire. John, welcome back, sir. Final series of the night between AG and YG. How you doing?
Doing great. You know, we saw YG, they played against a tough opponent in Motivate Trust. AG, some people would argue, is an easier opponent. I have no clue where I stand in that right now because AG has changed the lineup, right? So we've lost UK and we've lost Mamang Daya. We've got Azura and Varish now from the Prime, so from the Russman stack.
Wow.
And it's going to be interesting to see how well they jive together with AG now, with DB, with Wami, with LYM. I was having a chat with Wami because I was curious, right? Like before, when AG still had UK, they'd always toss UK for the interviews. So I was like, who's going to do it now, Wami? And he doesn't know. I told him, you do it. He said his English is bad. So we'll have to see if they do make it to playoffs. I'm keen to see who does the interviews for AG. Still, heading into it, you know, YG, you mentioned it last time as well. We've seen them steadily improve from outside tournaments. And just unfortunate, Motivate Trust are looking really hot so far to kick off in the BTS Pro Series. AG might be an opponent that you could consider closer to their caliber. So this should be a very even matchup between these two. Have the openings on hand. Tidehunter for YG. AG going for the Snap Terrorblade. So they're just kind of protecting their Terrorblade here. You've got the Snapfire. You can kind of play around with Cookie to save. You can be aggressive early on. You have good team fight with Kisses flying through as well. And you can kind of play your lane really well if you do go a little Shredder. The minus armor is just ridiculous. Like, I was reading some numbers earlier on, and the way it works is minus armor is most effective as you move armor closer to 0.
Right.
So Snapfire early on with a Blightstone, little Shredder, almost every hero goes 0 armor. So it's just so efficient in that laning phase. You bring a lot of damage out. You can really enable your laning partner. For YG, you have the same minus armor taught with the Tidehunter with Gush. You've got the Lion now as well for control. So you have a lot of good team fight here. A good frontliner in that Tide. Very flexible as well. You could still run Tidehunter 5, Lion 4. We have seen teams still do that, so it's open for YG. But as you mentioned last time as well, Mike, YG's the kind of team that's very comfy with picking their core in the first phase.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they haven't quite yet. I imagine the Tide is going to be a core or off-lane Tidehunter, but YG, the last 2 games against Motivate Trust, they did go ahead and first pick their position 1, so wouldn't be too surprised to see them going for those early pickups again. I imagine it'll be in the next phase, though. So I'm much more curious about AG with these roster changes, right? Because we just saw YG and they were looking quite decent. I'd say there's been some solid improvement from the last time we got to watch them. Then you've got AG though. I mean, you lost Mamang Daya, and he was an integral part of Army Geniuses, and UK pretty damn good himself. I'm pretty concerned about this stack. I think they still look very potent. It's just these 2 new additions. You're mixing things up quite a bit. You've got somebody else drafting now as well. I'm just very curious to see where they go with this, at least this game 1, to really reveal what they're going to do against YG. Thing is, when you see YG last game, not only are they kind of warmed up, even if they did lose 2-0 against Motivate, but they look pretty darn strong. I think Motivate's rated as a pretty good team. It is an upper division team after all, and they've won Pro Series quite a few times now. So I'm quite concerned for AG. I don't want to underestimate these new players quite yet. It's a little bit unfair of me to do. But we've seen it so many times with teams that bring in new players. It's more the coordination that kind of suffers. I'm wondering how well AG's kind of gotten it together by this point. Like, how long have they been playing with each other now? Do you know that, John? Like, do you know how long they've been playing with each other?
I think they've been playing for at least maybe a tournament or 2 now, for AG's side. But I can tell you this. I was chatting Wami before we came in here. I was curious because, you know, Azura and Varish were from the Prime. Right. You know, kind of linked to Rusman. So I asked Wami, you know, are you actually friends with Rusman? He's like, yeah, we're friends. So I'm like, okay, if they were friends with Rusman, if Wami was friends with Rusman, that could extend to that they were also friends with Azura and Varish, which means they've played together a few times on and off. They run into each other. They have a good understanding of each other. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue for AG, at least on paper, considering how these players are as well. We know how goofy Army Geniuses are, how light-hearted they are when they play the game. You know, they're very. I mean, they play seriously, but there's a sense of fun
Yeah.
when they play, and I think this lineup is also going to maintain that. So I don't think the shakeup is going to affect their team coordination as much. Of course, there's still a settling in period, but it's not going to be as rough as other fresher stacks kind of roped together on a whim.
It's kind of interesting you brought that up as well, because it does feel like the newer generation of SEA-based players do tend to all know each other and be quite friendly with each other. I think that's something we've been noticing, especially with the new teams, is everyone's just kind of chatting with each other as the game starts. Everyone kind of just knows each other and may have played in a couple scrims together or something like that. It's a very interesting kind of connection between everyone right now in this region. And I feel like that was something that was maybe lacking in the first iteration of SEA players back when, you know, Dota 2 first came out and you had the initial, you know, internationals going on. Whereas now it does feel like everyone just kind of gets along. Everyone's kind of cool with each other and they're open to making trades, and it's a very interesting time for the region. ZG, third pickup for themselves now. A lot of focus on the POS 1 and 2 of YG in that ban phase. You can't quite blame them. I feel like at least Young PH, to me, looks like one of the big stars that could come out of YG in the future. I know there's a lot of fans already of this young man. Just wondering what he does pick up. I mean, he's had a pretty rough day thus far against Motivate Trust. At the very least, I guess you're not against Mamang Dai, which might be a positive, because he was really damn good and cheeky in that mid lane, but it may not be too much easier against the new mid laner of AG.
I think for YG, they've got a bit of an edge. I mean, for AG, they could just pick their 5. The issue is they're not quite sure about whether or not the Tide's a support or offlane, so they're kind of figuring out that flex. They go to Undying here from AG, so maybe seeing a little bit of what happened with Motivate Trust. The Undying having a lot of impact early on as support.
Yeah.
And AG do set themselves up to have that early aggression. Again, building up with a Snapfire. The early damage, the early control you can get out with these two heroes is pretty spectacular. And YG don't really have a hero to clear out Tombstone yet. They have the option for the Lina, if they want to go into that for Young PH once more. He can make use of that. Again, focus down the Tombstone. Very good reach, very good attack speed. So the Tombstone's not going to be a massive issue if you have a good range core like that. But we'll have to see. AG are keeping their cards close to their chest outside with Terrorblade. They still have a lot of options for the Wami hero and the Azuri hero on mid as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of reserve time being used in this draft already as well. Like 20 seconds left for YG, 43 seconds left for AG. So both teams have been taking their sweet time with these bans and picks. YG going to be extremely low on time as they go into those final pickups. Only 8 seconds left. They're going to go for the Mirana. I'm kind of curious as to where this Mirana is going. Now, I know we're used to seeing the support Mirana, the POS 4 Mirana is usually the go-to. A lot of talk has been had about position 1 Mirana as of late, Jonathan. I've been seeing a lot of streamers running it. Has seemed very, very potent. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case this game. I do believe they probably will run it as a POS 4. But I wouldn't run it past YG if they wanted to kind of experiment here and run a POS 1 Mirana.
Yeah, I think there's room for that experimentation. There's some pretty good timings you can hit in the Mirana as well. As a core, as a range core, it does give you good control against the Tombstone, so you can kind of isolate that, make good work of it. You've got a lot of damage that can fly through if you do go for the Ags build. Lots of good right-click damage if you go for the Maelstrom build as well. So it's very flexible if you do go for the core pick. It is still open. I'm not sure if that's something YG will lean into. I think it's more likely we'll see a Mirana Titus lane, but when you think about that lane, it's not a particularly amazing lane. It's not like you're running it with a Mars, with stun setup for the arrow, or a DK combination, the anime duo. So you don't really have a way of leveraging the arrow beyond just using it to clear out range creep and large camp, and that can kind of take away some of its impact in terms of kill potential. So We'll see if YG does want to go that route anyway. AG do go into the Ember. And the matchup for Ember versus Void Spirit, very even. I think it just relies a lot on mechanical skill. That's a very mechanics-based matchup. Either side can kind of eke out an advantage. Depends on who oversteps and who gets punished. The Ember in this case, build-up's a lot more steady for Ember. I think Ember has faster items coming through, like Phase Boots, like Orb of Corrosion. Very cheap items that have good impact, whereas for Void Spirit, you're looking for Yules. If not Yules, then Akaya. The Ags build up down the line as well. For Void to hit a power spike, it does take a little bit more time. So the Ember, all things hold equal in lane, can have a little bit more damage output going around lanes and looking for ganks.
Right. Well, final banouts now. Offlane being kind of focused here by YG. AG do need an offlaner right now. And of course, AG, they're just going to focus on the position 1. So they don't think it's a pos 1 Mirana. I don't quite blame them. I don't think so either. Just focus down on those position 1s that do well against the TB. Get rid of the PL. They'll get rid of the Weaver. YG, what else have you got? In the pos 1 role right now, you see anything that kind of strikes you, John? Anything that they could confidently go into against a TB Ember?
I think you're always going to have to deal with a shortcoming. Like, against Terrorblade, you kind of struggle with picking up a melee core. Sven is a big one, Ursa's a big one. They go with the Faces Void instead. So they've got Chrono, they've got Ravage, they have really good team fight. I just feel like Void as a core is not amazing. You know, it's like you're tied into Chrono, your timings are weird, you don't really have great heroes to play outside Chrono. Void Spirit doesn't really play there. Mirana could. That's likely to support Mirana, so even her damage output in Chrono is not amazing. I guess you have Lion Finger and the Earth Spike to follow up, but again, it's not particularly impressive. So we'll see how much they can pull out from Faces Void, but it doesn't inspire too much confidence. It is good control, and I guess if you play with your Chrono timing, be aggressive around that timer, you can kind of run and gun with it. There's no counterplay for it from AG, no swap, no disarms naturally, so they have a lot of ways of punishing, not a lot of ways of punishing that Void.
No, absolutely not. Wami as well gets his Timber Saw, and that's one of the specialties of Wami from the first times we used to watch this man play in the off lane. I do agree with the sentiment. I think the Faces Void feels very weak. Has felt weak for I don't even know how long now. It just doesn't do any damage. I mean, sure, you get to a point where it is kind of ridiculous. Like, once you get to that late game, it can really start to hurt. And obviously, Chrono never really gets old, right? Like, Chrono's always going to be kind of busted. Just hard to imagine them being able to get through this Terrorblade with the amount of damage they have right now. It feels very difficult. Let alone the Ember and the Timber. Doesn't look like a very easy lane for Hao either against that Timber Saw. I mean, obviously, you have the Time Walk away, but chances are Wami is probably just going to dominate the lane on this Timber Saw. I don't know, you tell me, John. Hard question. Who has the superior draft?
I'm leaning on AG as well, Mike. I think they get the Wami special as the last pick. Has a really good lane against the Faces Void. On to your point about Faces Void, Mike. It is fair to say it's a weak hero. I think it's strong. It's a support, though. And I will die by those words. I think Red Panda's way of playing Faces Void is probably the best way to play it right now. So if another team would adapt that, I think I'd have less issues with Void. Like pause 5 Void, time dilation to run in, running up, harassing, time walking out. It can be annoying to deal with against a certain lineup. So it's probably the best position for it. But, how it's playing it, it's not support Void. You don't have the Invoker combination with Cataclysm. You don't have a lot of, again, spells to play with in Chrono. If you had Alina instead for Young PH, I think I'd feel a lot comfier. But as it stands, there's just so much pressure on how to actually get a ton of farm to make use of those Chronos by himself.
Yeah, I mean, I still think you can get to a point where it's decently powerful, but I'm thinking pretty late game is when you do get to that point, and it's more so the Chrono than anything that becomes just so potent. So you don't care about things like the BKBs and everything like that when you've got Chrono available. We'll head into the game, though. Of course, as is tradition, we do have a quick pause out. Quick merry ender break, as I like to say. YG, they did just have a bit of a rough series. They might need a bit of time. It's like it was actually AG that needed the pause. So a lot of tips flying out already between Wami and Zorain. I'm very curious to see how YG trying to make this draft work. Like, I mean, we're commenting a lot on this pos 1 Void pick. The thing is, when you look at the options they had left, they didn't really have much else going for them.
Yeah, not much. You see in all chat, Mike?
I'm saying
You
it,
were
John.
saying it, right?
Yeah.
These guys are all close. Shout out to Wami. Zalreen's love, that's right. Wami's everyone's favorite boy. Such a fun guy.
Yeah.
And young PH is not very happy about the last pick timber. He knows. That's an excellent pick. Still, they're smoked up here, YG. They could be, mind games trying to surprise, but the ward spots them.
Yeah, that it does, and Wami's kind of the first line of defense here for the side of AG, and not necessarily the guy you want to walk into, even as 5. I suppose maybe there's no better time, because he hasn't got reactive armor up yet, but still a tanky boy in this timber.
30 seconds to
Only geniuses, they'll just patiently wait it out. Zorain still looking to set up, and obviously YG not quite aware that they are under vision right now. So maybe feeling like they're slowly closing the gap, but AG just going to stay back, and I think by this point, Zorain should just check with the sentry now. Because it feels very obvious that they are under vision, and now it should be extremely obvious for Zorain. Take the risk, Zorain. Drop the ward. No, he doesn't want to do it. I mean, they even ping it out. That's the worst part. Zorain, come on. You can do it. It's the Void. The Void just told him it's there. No, Zorain.
Oh, no.
He blocks the... No, you block the camp. But I guess he had to make a decision. The problem is because the Observer ward's there, they know it's blocked now. So not only do you not get the ward, but that's going to be dewarded instantly.
Yeah, they're going to be able to open up, build up some stacks, gives us a chance to look at the lanes as well. Wami, once again, on that last pick timber, saw that young PH is sad-faced about, as Wami does get to pick up his special. He is laning with LYM on that Snapfire as well. They are laning up against How on Faces Void and Zorain on the line. So a pause 5 line coming through. You can play aggressive with Void line. There is some ways to be aggressive. That does rely on time lock landing in, though. Like level 2, level 3, perhaps with level 2 time lock is when you can pump that damage out. Issue is against the Timber Saw, it's not really the easiest target to pin down. LYM would be a better source of kills, but it's going to be tough kind of isolating that Snapfire once you get some levels up. Once you've got Cookie and Scatterblast, not a very easy target as well with the damage that she can pump out.
Top lane, very, very deep here from our Undying. A lot of damage to be dealt, but he's still just trying to deny this creep wave away from YG and take some CS of his own. I suppose with the decay up again, he's feeling confident. It's a very nice juke out as well. Arrow, not going to be on the mark. He does juke it out. He'll go right for the TP, and he's going to make it. Back to the tier 1 tower. Little time being bought here for DB. You'd be happy as that as the carry.
Yeah, it's lots of space for DB. He's not being pressured out by the tide. They're not able to leverage the gush onto the Terrorblade to try to get some good right-click harassment off with the Mirana. Skill lay for his part, though. Does take the opportunity to just build stacks, secure the water rune. So he is camping out on the mid lane, just trying to ensure that one spot is going to be free. Young PH is chasing Azura down, though.
He is. Nice Aether Remnant. Azura gonna try and get that water rune and does get it in time. Has the bottle charges. Young PH still trying to get aggressive, but in the end won't have any more mana. Be able to use that Resonant Pulse to try and finish off the kill. Very close call, but Azura, he's going to be allowed to get both water runes. I'm quite shocked by that. He gets up to full HP now, and young PH, he's the one at the disadvantage. And never mind, the reason why he's allowed that to happen is because he doesn't have the bottle up yet on the Void Spirit. But it feels like a pretty big issue, as now he misses the range creep to boot. Oh boy, a set of very unfortunate events here, as now the chains comes out, not like this. Azura, he might just get it, and he does. As the bottle comes in, and Azura, he knows how much he outplayed him just then, John. That was problematic from young PH.
No, it really was. Good TP out as well, spotting the rotation from skill A. So you can just go back, top up, and fill up. Lun dropping really low, left alone top here.
Might just go down if Varish wants to just keep going. In fact, he's going to go for the dive in. The creep was just tanking the tier 1 tower hits, but the decay.
Oh, he missed.
Going to be off the mark. So this time, Lun's the one to juke him out. But he's been left with basically 0 regen. Skill A, he's going to give him a tango. Enjoy.
It's a rough start for YG, though. AG just working out every lane. They sniped the bounty room with Varish as well. start to set up, moving down mid. Young PH, he's still in a playable position, you know, not lagging too far behind in CS. EXP is going to be an issue, though. Once Azura hits 5, it's going to have a little bit more damage and control coming through with his Ember.
Oh, absolutely. Well, fights over the water runes again. Skill A, he'll be forced to take one. And guess what? Azura should have the mobility to just walk himself down and be able to get the other water rune. So it's another situation where young PH is left without a full bottle. Meanwhile, bot lane, Zorain now being chased down by Wami. Chains gonna be cancelled off by the Earth Spike. And in the meantime, Lun, top lane, ends up dropping to DB. And John, I'd hate to say this, but that was solo.
Has been killed.
Yeah, it's tough for a Tide to play the TB lane when Metamorphosis is up. You're just not tanky enough. You've got level lead as well into Terribly, despite that being a solo lane for the most part for Lun. So you've got a little bit more to play with DB in comparison to the Tide. And this all boils down to Skill A having to work around the map. He's had to show mid, he's had to chase down the Undying, to prevent the pulse, to kind of try to contest runes as well. And that just leaves your Tide extra vulnerable. You're not able to pressure down the Terrorblade, and he just gets to build up farm.
Well, nice setup there from LYM, basically just getting the Zorain kill on his own with the cookie. Didn't even need Wami around to help him out. Meanwhile, this Undying, he's been a real nuisance thus far. Just continuing to chase down Lun, and of course Skill A as well on the Mirana. Just not giving them the opportunity to try and get some farm and XP up. You look at poor old Lun, level 4, nowhere near level 5 right now. Just so low in CS. It's just not what you want to see as a Tide as mid lane. Azura gets jumped by young PH and Zorain does land the Earth Spike, but the arrow not going to be there in time as Azura still playing around here on the Ember, but eventually will back out. In the meantime, OYM might set up here onto Zorain. They're going to run right into each other. Won't go for the cookie setup though. Instead, Azura still playing with young PH, but no, never mind. In the end, gets the chains off into the cookie and the scatter blast. Nice easy pick off there for Army Geniuses, and so far 0-4 their way. So quite a dominant start for Army Geniuses.
It really is, and it kind of boils back to rune control, and that's been the story of the day, Mike. If you noticed in the first series, rune control for the winning team was always on point. Second series as well. This series, it's looking that way, with Azura just getting every single rune, denying away water runes from YG, slowing down the pacing of the Void Spirit. It does impact you a lot. Like, if you can't play that regen game, if you lose out on the quality of that regen, you just can't work that lane as well. You can't clear out the creep wave, you can't dip into the side camp and use your mana there because you just don't have mana. And young PH is starting to fall a bit behind in that sense. I mean, he's up there in CS, but you can feel the momentum. It takes so many heroes for young PH to stabilize that mid lane that the side lanes just fall apart.
Zorain getting some stacks off, but Varish is there to just keep tabs on what's going on. Zorain, we'll see him around now, but with the information, we'll definitely look for a bit of a steal there as young PH will start moving his way over on the Void Spirit. See if he can get started on those stacks and maybe even set up for a kill onto the Undying, who has dropped the tombstone on the high ground, by the way. He's just farming it himself, and he's forced three heroes to rotate to try and respond to this. They might be able to get the tombstone. They do not have vision on the high ground, though. No wards available either. So they can't actually get the tombstone gold. At the very least, young PH does clean up the stack.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
But just look at the amount of attention that this Undying is forcing.
Yeah, it's two heroes that have to show up, two supports again, leaving the side lanes open. The bot lane's just completely gone. They lost their bot tier 1. Wami's level 7 on the Timbersaw, has the Hood of Defiance. That's one less lane for them to play in, one less safe lane for how to try to build up in the space of Void, and he's had a slow start in that Void. 31-3, compare that to DB at 62-20 on the TB. That's just going to pile up. Faces Void, one of his weaknesses as well, he's not a flash farmer. He has some mobility, but his ability to clear out camps quick is just not there without items, and this kind of slow start is going to impact that even more.
I mean, this goes back to how tough of a lane young PH has had. In fact, hold that thought, because how I believe might just be dead. Wami, he'll go all the way for this, but he doesn't have the mana for the Chakram. Never mind, he's got the Soul Ring up. There's your Chakram out. Wami truly finds it worthwhile to dive that deep as top lane. They might try to set up onto DB, but he's got the mana up. It's not going to be that easy of a kill, especially as Azura does rotate in. Ravage is there, though, with the arrow out. They'll have enough. DB does at least drop, but can you get everyone else out of there? Well, young PH, he should be just fine with the Astral Step charge. In fact, he'll even stick around and keep farming. I can't say the same for Skill Lay, but he is juking out nicely enough. Chains out, Scatter Blast is there, Skill Lay. He's just going to drop the Soul Rip. But young PH, still dancing around this top lane, will eventually be forced to walk out. And fun fact, John, that was actually the first kill of the game for YG.
Yeah, it's a big kill, to be fair, right? Like, the Terrorblade's a great target to find your first kill on. The issue is, it's your first kill. You need more to get going. And look at AG. They're not dissuaded. They drag Wami up. They know he's strong. They're going to contest in the triangle.
I love the fact that they're just not allowing them to have any free space. In fact, Chains are there. Hal forced to just get out of there. But now Wami, he's going to start on those ancient stacks. What do you do? How do you contest this? You can't. In fact, Azura looking for a cookie. Tumblr's toy, not going to be on the mark, but it won't matter. They're just buying more time for Wami to just get all this farm the way of AG. And Hal, he's just kind of staring them down. He can't even get the tombstone. They'll leave him a black dragon. That's the only thing he's going to be able to pick up from that whole stack.
And again, it takes like 4 or 5 years to contest that, whereas for AG, they just have a free triangle for DB to play in. He clears out his own ancients, clears out the large camp, plays bot lane, is protected by a ward. They're not able to jump the big target they need to focus on YG's side.
I mean, this Undying's just ruined them. He's done everything this game. He's found the stacks. He dominated the top lane for his TB. He's chased down just consistently the supports and offlane of YG, forcing rotations out from young PH, who was having a terrible laning stage. It's just, he's done so much work in these 11 minutes. In mid lane now, Wami is going to rotate over. Hal, he's having such a rough time already. Courier actually going to be sniped as Wami. I mean, I guess he kind of reveals where he was now with that Courier. But this is the position that AG's in. They just understand that they can continue pressuring YG. And there's really nothing they can do about it with this draft.
No. They don't have many options. They Moonlight Shadow. They're not really able to get a rotation out just to reposition themselves and try to get some more farm up. And I want to go back to your point in Varish, Mike. You look at his build as well. Normally, we see most Undyings go for Soul Rep Max. He's managed to play so aggressively, he knows he can go away with Tombstone. Like, he doesn't need to heal, he just needs that area denial, and they have no way of clearing it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to heal anyone, John, when you've only dropped one hero thus far in this game. It's like, who am I healing? Nobody's dying. It's young PH, he's going to try and run. He does have the step charges available. It almost seems like they just want to keep annoying him and just chasing him down, forcing out more step charges. Now Wami's here. They really want to make this young man's life a living hell as Chakram's there. Young PH, he's going to dissimulate to the low grab of Wami. He's just going to chase him down. TP away, should make it, and does. But you are just making it so this Void Spirit just doesn't exist in this game. I feel like there's no other way to put it. Young PH does not exist in this game right now.
No, he's a non-factor. Funny thing is, we're saying that, but you look at the net worth graph, young PH is higher net worth than Azura. You know, it's just down to the fact that the Void Spirit needs a lot more than an Ember does to have impact. Like, Azura just with phase boots does a lot of damage, and the Orb of Corrosion, like the physical output of those Sleight of Fist charges, just so strong, whereas a Void Spirit, yeah, you can kind of set up with a Remnant, you can go in with a Step, but you need a Yules. You need more items to have that set up for yourself, and it just takes so much more farm. He's just not able to breach that farming target to have a presence in the game.
Yeah, that, you know, right now he's got Tangos and Salves queued up on this Ember, John, so I'm not sure what Azura's item build is right now. I don't think he needs the regen. Just got them queued up. It's AG. We'll just keep up this tower aggression on this tier 1. Look at the disparity between these carries at the moment. I mean, a DB 7.5k, and your Faceless Void almost 5k, but just about 3k gold behind. I mean, it's... You pointed out the fact that Void just doesn't flash farm either. It's a very true statement if I've ever heard one. LYM, they're going to commit the chrono for this. It looks bad, but I think 13 and a half minutes in, you may as well commit it. The problem is, though, young BH has been caught mid lane. He's going to try and step his way out, but they're just going to continue chasing him down. They're not letting him go. We've seen this one before. Dissimulate, down to the low ground, buying more time, but not anywhere near enough as Azura. Slider fists him down. Lon, he was making his way over to help, but just nothing he can do. In fact, he's underneath the sentry right now. Lon, you may need to run, sir. It's not looking too great for you. Bye-bye, Lon.
Yeah. They need to play around the teamfight ults, but YG just aren't grouping up in the way you'd want. Like, if that response had more heroes, if they had more people walking with the Tide, they might have been able to play with a Ravage and kind of follow through. It's just that their Void Spirit's probably their best damage. You can't rely on Face's Void to jump in there, do the damage, and the Ravage. And it just doesn't line up. They do have some room to farm up top, but AG's starting to collapse on them in that position.
I mean, you know, as AG, you can just keep chasing them down. There's not really much to hold your pack right now. Azura, he's going to get spotted. Immediate remnant forward from Azura. That'd be another nice pick-off for this Ember. And you know what, John? If you're Azura right now, you might legitimately be thinking, maybe I'm just going to rush an Aghanim Scepter. With how active the side of AG's been, I think the Ags might just be the way to go. Like, what else do you need right now?
Time is money.
Not much. The Axe is just going to allow you to have that presence even more, faster remnants, you know, longer range, so you can just jump all over the place, and it makes it harder for YG to keep that same pace up. I think that's the right play. And he has been holding off, and as you pointed out, he still has his laning regen queued up, but now he buys at the Mithril Hammer. It's going to be a Maelstrom, so just steady damage, not looking to risk it by waiting for 4,000 gold to flow in, just wants to keep that aggression up.
I mean, fair enough. Guess he is quite behind in net worth, so maybe he just feels like he needs that extra that extra farming ability as well. Still, YG, they are very far behind. They're going to go for a 4-man smoke. You've got Ravage up. Chrono's in about 15, but it won't matter because they found Wommy. But can they take him down? Arrow's there. They're going to try and save. Moonlight Shadow in time. Wommy, he's still alive, but no, the Ravage comes out. They are not risking anything. Varish now going to be focused down, but Azura, he'll jump in with the Tombstone out. They have enough to at least get one in the fact of Azura, but now Varish, he's dropping low and does end up going down on the Undying. Skill lay, still being chased. Lund drops as well to DB. Meanwhile, on the backside, the Chrono has been committed. They will at least be able to fight the Snapfire, but Chains around on DB. Ooh. Look at the amount of damage out. How he'll at least get the Time Walk off in time, and he might just make it out, in fact. I say that, but Azura, Chains, it'll be there. He'll try to fight. Oh, he's still going. Reflection's there, but it won't be enough to lock him down. And alright, all things being said and done, not really too bad for YG. In fact, they might even be able to find more now. You'll scepter around onto the Ember. They'll lock him down. Azura still going to be alright though, as now they turn back. How? He just melted. It looked great. It was anything but great, though. There's now Chains out. Zorain, he's been caught. Scatterblast just on the edge to get him down. And last time around, you threw everything at Wommy to get the kill. This time, without your Ravage, without your Chrono, I don't think they've got any chance of killing this man off. And they'll just have to leave him be.
Yeah, he's got to protect. And he just come back in. Azura's ready again.
Yeah, another great Chains out, but the 8th of Remnant to block the Chains off from Wommy. In fact, How now going to jump in after LYM, but he's got the stick charges available. How? He's going to try after the Tombstone instead. He'll use the Time Walk away. Is now Wommy with the Spirit Vessel is ticking down quite a bit faster. Still trying to escape, but eventually does drop. And maybe now you can capitalize as Azura. He is out of Remnants, but a big reflection out. DB, he's going to try and force the fight, even without the meta. He'll chase down How. He's still trying to go after Azura. Will give up. Instead goes back in after LYM. In fact, now Varish dropping quite low, but the Soul Rip going to buy more time. How? You've got to be careful, sir. It's not worth your life. Lun. He's going to try and back off, but Azura has the Chains. In fact, never mind the Tide. He wants that Lion, and look at the damage. with the sleight of fist, just bursts him down. Skill A, he does pick off LYM, but now the dust is there, and they found out the Mirana. That was his last leap charge. Chains out, DB will say thank you very much, but Ravage now, it's been so long. Ravage has come back up all the way from a big call down, but DB, a massive sunder out, buys more time for Asura. Lun and Young PH going to be both chains up. They'll turn around again onto the Void Spirit. They'll get the kills. You have got to be kidding me.
Oh, that is just madness. AG playing on the edge. DB knowing that he could go in melee form, get damage off, get some help for his team, and just run from there. It looked like it was an okay fight for YG. I mean, it was so long. They got Ravage and they have Chrono back up. They just couldn't focus in the damage, and they're not done.
I mean, Zorain kind of ran into him. LYM's not going to tie to the finger. Spirit Vessel charge is there, but they've got the mech up to just keep alive the Snapfire is Azura now. Oh, missed the slide.
Radiant's middle tower.
What a crazy game thus far. I mean, the team fights have just been so prolonged. And YG, I mean, they just keep getting close, but it feels like they're lacking damage.
They do. It's just the issue with Face's Void, right? Like, his damage output isn't great. He needs way more items, even with a Mom and Maelstrom up. He can do some work in his Chrono now, if he lands a good one. So there is some potential coming through, and they do have that Chrono up. They are just sticking together as a team on YG's part. I think the more important one is Young PH's build, although
OYM should drop, and they do get him. Young PH able to pick up that kill. One step closer to that Aghanim Scepter now.
and that's going to be big. Once you've got that silence, once you've got the charges on Resonant Pulse, it becomes easier for the Void Spirit to jump in, get control. There are no early BKBs here yet on the side of AG. And they're going to smoke up on YG. They've got Chrono. They could try to force the fight.
Absolutely. You need a big Chrono here, though. Ravage up in 25. They can't rely on that unless the fight breaks out long enough. In fact, chains are out already. They've got the Lion. This is not what you want. You need as much control as possible, and losing Zorain like that this early on, such bad news. Because now YG, they're forced to back out. They can't force the fight. In fact, Lung gets spotted trying to creep skip. Go for a TP play. Is he going to make it in time? Yes, he will. Azura unable to get there to pop the Sleight of Fist chains up.
Yeah, that does draw all of them out. Breaks the smoke, so they don't get the Chrono opportunity with How. And that is a big boon for AG. They just get back to farming, keep building up on their Terrorblade. Crystallis up. Silver Edge just lacking pretty much the recipe here, so he's going to have a massive spike and...
a lot of damage. Skill lay. He barely gets out. Boy, oh boy. Even without the meta, this Terrorblade is just hitting like an absolute truck right now. Zorain going to catch himself and Undying, but I don't think you have the damage. He's going to drop the Tombstone, turn around onto Lun, and well, now Lun's gone. And I'll tell you, Zorain has not had a good time this game. Just everything he touches just turns to dust, it feels like, but not in the good way.
Yeah, it's like the reverse Midas touch. Not quite shaping up the way they'd want to. I have to say though, AG, they've been playing really clean. Like, you look at Azura, we didn't even mention it. He's had a great game. He's 10-0-11. He's been in 21 of the 24 kills on AG. He's just been a monster on the Ember. And that's him, for a long time, being below Young PH's net worth. He just manages to play with what he has.
Zorain. I mean, at this point, you're just getting desperate now. He's 0-10-5. Probably not feeling it this game on the line, and well, now that bot tier 2 tower going to be open for DB to get started on, and when I say get started, it's already about done. Just happens that darn quick here for DB. The rest of YG just trying to buy more space and more time. You see Young PH just pulling the creep wave over. Just trying to double farm up, but they are incoming. OIM getting close. Young PH is forced to Astral Step TP away. I mean, if you're AG though, at this point you're just looking towards that Roshan pit, I think. Or maybe just more hero kills, because they are heading up top again.
you know, they haven't really focused on the Roche. They just keep walking by it. Oh,
I mean, arrow lands, but what are you going to do about it? Like, I don't think they can actually kill the Undying.
no. I think at this point, they've tried multiple times. Unless you commit even your Void Spirit, and then it's possible. And oh, it's Zarain.
I mean, I feel so bad for this line. He's just trying to get his blink up. He is trying to get his blink up as best as possible. He just cannot catch a break because Azura is just haunting him every single time.
Yeah, they've been on point with tracking the squishy supports on AG side and just punishing them for not being aggressive enough early on. Like, if you had the line rotating and successfully finding kills, it could have felt a lot better. They smoked up, but they hit Roshan anyway. That's an interesting choice on AG. And Roshan is going to fall fairly quick. The side of YG, they are clumped up for smoke. They've got Ravage Chrono. This could be a really good fight if they get the jump in.
They've got to get the big jump, though. Well, he's going to make it in time. Roshan very low. He could just go for an Aegis swipe as well, but they're thinking about it too long. DB's got the Aegis up. Wami's blocked the staircase. And they are going to get nothing for their trouble. It's one of those scenarios you've just got to find a way to jump in and get that Chrono off. Stop the Roshan from happening, but much easier said than done as DB now. Reflection out. It's going to kind of threaten the side of YG with that reflection.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
How do you stop this tier 2 tower push? Oh, young
top.
PH now. He's out of step charges, John. I believe that is another death here for the side of YG as Azura, he's been on absolute fire in December. Young PH, he tries to buy himself time, but it's not quite enough. Meanwhile, mid lane, Wami and DB, they've made their way to the high ground.
Radiant's middle
No meta necessary. They'll just do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Again, YG, their high ground hold, it's there. There's Ravage, there's Chrono, but they just don't feel confident enough to catch even one hero and just try to rip through one big hero up front.
They're just very scattered right now. Like, what are we aiming for? YG, they're going to move in. OYM, they want to try and chase down the Snapfire. Lun's there. No Ravage pop yet, nor is there a Chrono, but the chain's around. Hal, he's still trying to go after Snapfire, but the Tombstone's getting to work. Hal, no Chrono yet. He's going to BKB and just try to time walk out. Now the Chrono comes in, but DB, he does not get caught. Oh, it's just a disaster here, YG. They can't catch a break. Nothing's working out. Just call it. I think you've got to call it.
Yeah, they're ripping through tier 4s like it's nobody's business. They tried to cut the creep wave. It's not going to be enough. So they still have the siege creep hitting away, so backdoor's not going to kick in. Buybacks are there. Again, Ravage Chrono, maybe one last fight.
They've got to try. Ravage is there. DB, he had the BKB active. Chrono was already committed. Don't forget Johnson. They haven't got that. And there goes Lun. There goes Zorain. Hell, he's going to try and time walk, but there's no way out. GG. AG. I mean, I question how powerful this team would be if the nice little cheeky son of there from TB at the end. I was questioning how strong the team would be with these new players, John. I've got to tell you, they look fantastic. They always look revitalized.
They really do. Like, I think AG has just dominated that game. Azura, again, for a while, he wasn't even ahead of Young PH's farm, right? Like, he was behind on the Ember. It doesn't matter when you're playing Ember, because all you need is Phase Boots or Corrosion, and you have this insane early game timing, especially with the max Sleight of Fist. He just ran around, caused issues, and Varish as well, as you pointed out. He just kept running into Triangle, securing runes, contest stacks early on with Tombstone, and there's just no counterplay. YG, their supports would get drawn towards mid and Triangle, their side lanes would be exposed to the Timbersaw special of Wami and the DB special Terrorblade. These are two heroes that both of these players excel at. You leave them in a solo lane, you can't bully them out.
I mean, it was so well executed. That's the thing. Like, everyone did their job properly. Like, everyone did it just perfectly. I don't know if YG's just not feeling good. I guess you could argue there was a bit of an outdraft. But man, everyone just did exactly what they needed to. And I think, yeah, these new players, they're looking good. I mean, maybe they've got a point to prove. You know, that they did replace some really good players from Army Geniuses. But Game 1, very, very impressive. We'll see if they can continue this in game number 2. We are going to head to a short 10-minute break, and right after that break, we'll be back with our final game of the day between YG and AG. See you then.